everybody. Good evening. I'm going to have to use this tonight. A couple of reasons. Go into.
You won't be able to do video. You get it right for you.
Go down a bit? Okay. How is that? I think I'm in the line of sight.
Maybe you can move. Well, camera operator, you talk.
I can see his head.
Can you move yourself?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Good? Good to go? Okay. Again, good evening. The world is a different place today, isn't it? November 17th in New York was fantastic.
Yes.
The spirit of Zuccotti Park, Liberty Park, is alive and well. The panicky rulers, like our $12 billion mayor and his thugs in blue, can kill an idea. 2 days after Bloomberg's blitzkrieg on Foley Square, filled with what even cops admitted were 32,000 demonstrators. Bloomberg won. Bloomberg lost, rather. We won on that day. The unions were backing the OWS called rally, and rage was high. 2 union presidents got themselves arrested. My union, the Transport Workers Union, Local 100, the subway and bus folks, played a key role in labor's as yet tentative relationship with the OWS. The TW initiated the October 5th and October 15th rallies, which brought out up to then the unprecedented amount of 20,000 people for each rally in support of OWS. The TW itself faces a contract with 3 zeros, massive healthcare cuts, or mass layoffs. In 2010, we had 900 layoffs. These are our so-called choices. Even the lifeless AFL-CIO bureaucrats supported November 17th and called OWS, quote, a seismic shift in the national debate, end quote. And while many at Foley Square were union, there were also thousands of students. About 5,000 students poured out of Union Square, a mile or 2 north, and marched down to Foley Square, running much of the time, I'm told by a middle-aged teacher. Mad as hell about tuition slavery, but also the students were mad as hell about the screwed up state of affairs that our world finds itself in. But this was no isolated student walkout. It went global, magnificent. It was around the world. Thousands on Thursdays carried handheld lights that glittered along our march south toward the Brooklyn Bridge. A giant Batman-style light was projected onto the Verizon building, the union-busting communications giant where workers may still strike again. The glowing message, a stark, simple 99%. Very big and very beautiful. We are the 99%, the workers, the unprivileged ones, the oppressed communities, the immigrant workers, the students. We are the people left behind by a system of greed called capitalism. The OWS message has rocketed across the globe from Liberty Park to hundreds of US cities and hundreds more around the globe. It has ignited and defined a new generation of rebels. It's a little short anecdote, a personal one. About a week ago, during my 3 a.m. lunch break as a transit worker, and I'm not making this up, I found a copy of the book that contained Francis Fukuyama's famous neoconservative essay, The End of History. Gone from the stage of history, the essay reasoned, were the unions, the students, the revolutionaries. Now, that 2002 essay was in the trash on my way to a neighborhood deli. I kept the book just to mark the moment. Also in the dustbin of history, as Lenin would have put it, are the many postmodern theories which predicted their own dreary version of the end of history and human solidarity. Also the Obama dream, a painful episode for many, is over. Over, but people are still hungry for change, real change. OWS has helped millions reawaken a planet. An international capitalist crisis forced it upon us. We should accept it and embrace this new movement. Our class, the working class, experienced the awakening, first in spurts and then as an avalanche. In New York City, it began quite modestly last summer as Bloombergville. Maybe some remember that one. Initiated mostly by anti-budget cut activists, mostly students. We camped out on the sidewalk across from City Hall with anti-corporate signs displayed to everyone, myself included when I could get over there. That began last June, and we became a thorn in Bloomy's butt, one that he couldn't quite remove, although he tried. Bloombergville ended with a protest at a city council hearing against huge budget cuts and hundreds of layoffs. A dozen or so did civil disobedience. All of the while, Bloombergville maintained the same democratic participation and style OWS has been world famous for. Excuse me, I'm a little tired. There were really only a dozen or two hardcore. The unions directly in Bloomberg's sites did almost nothing for that protest. Well, thank you, Bloombergville, you showed the way. To many of us in Bloombergville, most of us were skeptical about the call for Occupy Wall Street. When the day came, over 1,000 showed. That shows you that all of us can have something to learn. Struggle often erupts in new forms. I remember when faxing was cutting edge, as were hand-cut stencils in its own time. But more importantly, these new mass democratic forms were first unleashed on the internet in a living struggle to overthrow Egyptian dictator and U.S. puppet, Hosni Mubarak. Everybody at least had a voice with this amazing new tool. The Russian Revolution, too, led by the Bolshevik Party of Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky, also posed new forms of struggle and democracy in their time. During the struggle, workers' councils called Soviets arose. Soviets were more than just unions. Soviets would discuss not only shop floor issues, but also issues affecting every worker, their class, police repression, the nation, and the first imperialist war, inter-imperialist war. Soviets were democratic institutions that allowed the views of all of the parties of the working class to be heard. After Lenin's death, the Soviets were later smashed, along with most of the old Bolshevik Party, on orders of the criminal Joseph Stalin and his caste of privileged bureaucrats. Trotsky went on to found the Fourth International, dedicated to workers' democracy and world revolution. It was Stalin's twisted model of socialism that we learned in school, not Trotsky's. Now the world is slowly unlearning the lies about socialism and revolution. Much of the democratic spirit of the Soviets can be found today in the OWS General Assemblies, although minus the critical mass of workers' organizations. What's needed in the U.S. is for labor to regain that democratic spirit as part of a mass class struggle against the 1%. Every labor organization should throw open its doors for the biggest, most inclusive labor congresses, which include the unemployed, community groups, students, and anyone who's fighting back. In the U.S., as in every country, truly deep changes